Hi, welcome back to the workshop for episode 11 of the Micawber Telecaster build, and in this episode we're going to continue with the shaping of the neck. Okay, so we left off last time with the central section of the neck kind of pretty much done. It's still a little bit rough, needs some finish sanding. So all that leaves now is to sort out the transitions at the headstock and the heel. Now quite often you'll see people tackle this job with a variety of rasps, etc. And I might hit it with a rasp further on down the process, but I'm going to start off with a big chisel. And I like to do it with the chisel because I think it gives me more control and it just lets me kind of choose where I want these transitions to go. It's also really satisfying work. Now I've got a variety of chisels ready to do this and they're all relatively broad. I feel the broader chisel on this task just gives you a little bit more control. Okay, so let's get carving. Okay, so that's the bulk of the headstock transition done, and as you can see from the close-in footage, you can actually get very close to what you want just with the chisel alone. It's these little flat spots where it transitions into the rest of the neck where you might struggle a little bit. So to help with that, I'm actually trying out a new tool on this one, and this is a Iwasaki Rasp that I've recently got, and I've only had a couple of practice goes with it, and it's really nice tool to use. So I'm just going to very gently kind of take some of the meat off of this transition area with that. And that is pretty much ready for sanding now. I haven't really used these before. That is an incredibly responsive tool. If you want to take a lot of material off, you can really dig in with this. But if you just want to shave something down, you can just back off with a very light touch, and it takes these kind of like little pigtail shavings off. If you can see those. Really impressed with that. This is the only one I've got at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I will be getting some more. So that end is now at a point where I'm probably going to go to sandpaper, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to turn this round in the jig and we can start on the other end. Okay, so you might be thinking that this is a bit risky, chiseling all this material off, and that it might cause the grain to split further up the neck and make a massive mess of things. It's not really the case. When we cut this profile in at the 12th fret and at the 1st fret, what it does is it creates a stop. So any material we're chiseling won't split beyond there unless we're very, very close. So you can see on this bit we're close to the finished dimension, so I've stopped chiseling on there, and we'll get that with the rasp. But while ever it's still a little bit proud like it is here, we're safe to use the chisel. Okay, so that's all the chiseling done. Actually goes quite quickly once you get into it. So I'm just going to do the same with the rasp at this end and just clean it up a little bit and get it ready for the sanding. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with where we're at now. We've got the bulk of the material removed. But what I'm going to do next is just check how these transitions are looking in terms of straightness. What I want is something that is straight pretty much the whole way through and only starts to kind of curve towards the headstock or the heel kind of as late as possible. I want it to be one straight line for almost the whole length of the neck. Now, up the headstock end, we're pretty much where we need to be. But down the heel end, we have got a little bit more material than we need in a couple of places. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time with a chisel and just work some of that off. And it doesn't take much, but that's got us kind of where we need to be now. So I'm just going to bring you in so you can see what this area looks like before we sand it. And as you can see here, it's very notchy and bumpy, so we need to smooth that out before we go any further. And to do that, I'm just going to use the same 60 grit sanding disc as I had before on the same block and just work to smooth this in. And as you can see, that's very quickly brought that much closer to what we want as the finished article. And that's starting to look. So I'm just going to carry on now and get the rest of the neck. And there we have the basic shaping done. There's obviously quite a lot of sanding to do on this neck yet, but it's very, very close to where we need it. But I do have to check the thickness of the neck. Ideally, I want this to be a little bit thicker than the spec, so this wants to be 21mm at the first fret. We're a little bit over, about 0.75 over, which is great because that leaves me plenty of material to sand away in the finish sanding. And the 12th fret is about 0.5 of a mil, but I'm happy with that because this end of the neck is actually a bit closer to finish than this is, so that's all good. I've still got a little bit of refining work to do around this heel transition, but most of it I'm really, really happy with, and I think that's gone quite well, really. Feels nice and comfortable in the hand, so I think I'd be happy to have that as my guitar neck. So this just needs a bit of fine sanding now and we'd be ready to get some finish on it. But what I'm going to do is I'll bring you in a bit closer and we can just have a look at it, see how we've done. Okay, so that's the headstock transition. I think there's a little bit of sanding in needed there just to smooth that bump out a little bit. But otherwise, I think that's looking really nice. And at the heel, again, just needs that final kind of little bit of sanding just to kind of even things out, but generally very happy with that. Okay, so that's the shaping done on the neck. There's many ways to go about this process and there's no real right or wrong ways, but this is just the method that I prefer. Next up, we've got some fine sanding to do and then we're on to the finishing process, but I'm not going to do that in this video. I'll save that for next time. So as always, if you found this useful, give us a like. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.